Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Before we start today's video, please make sure to like and subscribe for more game dev content, and I'll see you guys in the video. I finished my first game. I went wrong. A lot. Welcome to the post-mortem of None of Your Business, about 3 months after release. I will say now that in the background of this video there won't be much going on, it'll basically be me playing the game, so if you prefer, maybe it's just best if you just listen to my voice and get on doing some work. That's what I intend for this video to be. Hi everyone. None of Your Business was my first proper game that I released, and it was really exciting to make. I started working on it on the 28th of March 2018, and at that time it was just called Platformer. That's because I knew what style of game it was going to be, and I had great ambitions for it. The only issue is I lacked the skills and the time to produce those ideas. I had a whole story for None of Your Business, which involved you playing as a guy who's been given a simple task of delivering a letter to your CEO. So the business aspect was always there. I did actually hold a poll a while ago, deciding on which design to go with for the main character, and I went for the business idea. I had 2 ideas to go from here. I could either make it a timed game where you need to get to the top floor before the workday is over, but after a while I decided making it just an average platformer where you complete one level and go to the next would be best. The lore, if you want to call it that, was that your character has a possessed briefcase which would help you reach places, attack enemies and protect you. If you know the anime My Hero Academia, you may know about the quirk called Dark Shadow. This is kind of what I was basing off, a spirit to help you go through life. The enemies in the game were going to be spirits that could float, which now that I think about it was just so I could avoid drawing / animating legs, which was the bane of my life. And later on these enemies would become more robot-like as there was something mysterious going on in the company. Sounds interesting, right? Hopefully. Yeah, I thought so anyway. But I lacked skills to do this, and being a student working towards A-levels, I also lacked the time for it all. In the summer of 2018, after a long break, I decided to get back to work on the game and came up with all of these ideas that I just mentioned, but soon after I realised I was not going to be able to do this. What you're seeing here is the first test level with a game dev's best friend, squares. I was actually quite proud of my original enemy system. If you see the red squares, they would track you between the 2 boundaries and then they just follow you and push into you, which is quite mean when you think about it, but I had plans that maybe they'd push you off the edge of the platforms, but in the end they didn't actually come into the game, which was down to one of my biggest downfalls, the fact I cannot draw or animate for shit. Designing the actual character and the other assets was such a huge task which took up loads of my time, and after a while I realised I wouldn't be able to spend as much time as I wanted on this project, and I had to cut back a lot on the lore and original ideas and stuck to a simple platformer. I kept the spirit in though, because I thought it looked cool. Once the character was finished, I created a walking animation. I was actually quite proud of it. It took me a long time to work an animation that I was proud of, and this one is quite simple, but it looked really good in my opinion. And once this was done, I started to work on mechanics once again. I started to create levels, and my level change system, the lifts, I was really proud of. I thought it looked quite cool, and it might not have been the most imaginative thing, but it worked and it looked alright. A lot of the code had to accommodate other things. For example, jumping onto platforms, another bane in my life, I had to use tutorials on how to properly implement this. Which I actually didn't do correctly, but more on that in a bit. Finally though, after user feedback from my friends, I finished all of the levels, and I was even able to implement some cool and interesting features, and I decided 30th of January, which is my birthday, will be the release date, and it was. Now, a post-mortem is going to be me talking about what I learned, and one of the biggest lessons I learned, don't be ashamed to use help. I was feeling stressed throughout this whole project, talking to my friends, just saying I feel awful that I had to use YouTube tutorials to help, which I saw as a form of cheating. But the more I went on, the more people I spoke to, the more I realised, how would I learn without being taught? For example, I can't make a damage system if I've never learned to make one in the first place. And to anyone wanting to go into game development and you're watching this, remember, it's okay to use help. But do not rip off people's projects completely, that's definitely not okay. I also learned more about design, and as I mentioned, I started off with a little square and I built all the functionality of the game around this square at this small size, which came back to haunt me later on, as a number of the mechanics didn't look right on anything other than a square that was this exact size. This was probably due to just my inefficiency of the code, but I also thought that maybe like the design issues were a thing here. Like maybe I should have designed the character at the start, got his actual size, and then built mechanics around that. Which is why I think from going forward, for any new projects I'm working on, I'll get some of the design out of the way and then make my mechanics around this certain size object. I mean, I'm pretty sure there is an easy way in Unity to change sprites over without much hassle. I should probably research that, but at the time making None of Your Business, I didn't, and I just ended up breaking everything and having to redo a lot of my code. So, like I just said, what about next time? I definitely have intentions to redo this game, because I have all these ideas that I just mentioned before, and I didn't get to implement them, but now I know how to implement more of them. Not all of them, but a lot more. I want to implement all these original mechanics with the enemies, and possibly the timed idea, because I kind of like that the more I think about it, where you start off on level 1, and you have to keep going all the way up until you reach the CEO by the end of the work day. I mentioned before about something that I didn't implement properly, and that was falling. Which sounds ridiculous, but yes, falling off platforms was a big problem for me. It was the only glitch I could never truly fix without having to just do some little tweaks, which was like putting a plaster on a crack in the glass and you think, oh, that will hold it, but the glass is actually like full of lava or something, so that plaster won't hold forever. But the only reason I could kind of see for this glitch was to do with colliders, and Unity Answers couldn't give me help. I mean, I've been thinking about it, and there probably was an easy way of doing it, like making the player's velocity go to 0 when he hits a platform and adding an upwards velocity to give him a bit of bounce. But at the time, I didn't think about that. And I just realised I didn't mention the actual problem. The actual problem was when you fell off a platform, your player would just go straight through it if he was too high up or falling too fast. Which is why the velocity probably should have been set to 0 to stop him. I think it's something to do because, like, say there's a collider, and the player goes halfway through it, and then he stops moving because that's his velocity 0. Unity seems to go, okay, he's 0.6 of the way through it, which means he's near the bottom, so we'll push him out the bottom. But if you were only like 0.1 of the way through it, it would push you out the top. That was basically everything interesting I could think about None of Your Business. If you are curious about anything else, just tweet me or comment on this video at Games by Saul or this video. And if you want to play my first official game, please be sure to check out itch.io. Thank you to everyone for listening to my None of Your Business post-mortem. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully you understood what I was saying. I'm using scripts now, and I'm feeling a bit stuttery. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video.